you. Thank you so much. Thank you for welcoming me this morning. I'm Dr. Lisa Cameron. I was an MP in the UK Parliament over the last 10 years, and during that time had the privilege of chairing the very first House of Commons cryptocurrency group in the Parliament, cryptocurrency and digital assets. How did I get there? I came from a health background, so not generally a tech background, although some engagement with health tech through the Health Select Committee in the Parliament. But no, my background is as a psychologist. My constituents always said to me that every parliament should have a psychologist. We think Westminster definitely should. So I enjoyed working on mental health and those aspects in Parliament as well. And what led me to cryptocurrency was in 2021, before the first APPG was even thought of, my constituent came to me and had lost some money and said to me, Lisa, can you find out for me who is working in the UK Parliament on this sector, what work is being done? And we had a look at that point, and there had been absolutely no debates in the House of Commons on cryptocurrency not that long ago in 2021. What we began to realise, we did a bit of research. No one was doing the work, leading it in that sense in the Parliament. And then I said, maybe this has just affected my constituent, and it's not common. We started to look, and there were at that point about 4 million people across the UK involved in digital assets, cryptocurrency. So it was clear that the population was way ahead of the Parliament. And that's when the inspiration for the APPG started. If you look up the UK Parliament, the House of Commons, you'll see there's lots of all-party parliamentary groups from all kinds of interest groups, from whisky to golf to anything really that requires some engagement in terms of legislation and regulation. But this was such an emerging field and no one was doing any of the work. So I went back to my constituent and said, well, it looks like there isn't anything ongoing yet. And he said, well, you should set it up and set me the challenge. And we managed to combine with Crypto UK at the time to set up the group. Because at that point, there was a real lack of regulatory clarity. There wasn't any redress for my constituent for losing any money. And so I came to it initially from the perspective of, and still very strongly, of consumer protection and that there required to be a level of regulation. However, we started to engage with stakeholders, developers, the industry, bringing them into Parliament to educate ourselves. It was quite emergence of different worlds in a sense. I always remember at the start having a big room like this and lots of the sector in the room, and we had the MPs and the Lords there talking about the sector, and all the buzzwords were flying about: blockchain, AI, DeFi. They were talking about all sorts of different crypto, and all the MPs are sitting, they didn't understand all of the terminology. And then someone started to talk about DeFi and fiat. And one of the Lords said, fiat, isn't that a car? I thought we were talking about money. And I thought, what we need to do is really educate ourselves here. This is like two worlds meeting with a totally different communication style. And we need to kind of develop and be that bridge. And so that's what the APPG started to do. We tried to start to educate MPs on the importance of emerging technology, understanding the opportunities for growth in the economy, looking at what was happening in other jurisdictions to compare what was happening in the UK. And then one of the most pivotal things that happened was when the Children's Parliament came to us, because in 2021, if you think back, you can remember there would be quite a lot of resistance. We had a number of kind of incidents in the sector where the reputational aspects were perhaps challenged at that point in time. We'd had Tara Luna, there had been a number of different things, and MPs were still saying, we don't really need to do this in the UK. We don't need to be looking at this industry. But then the Children's Parliament, they came, and the Children's Parliament is where young people are elected to represent their area, and they come down a couple of times a year to talk about their priorities. Often they speak about mental health, but they also speak a lot about technology and job opportunities and emerging technology, and how AI, how digital technology is a big feature of their lives. It's normal to them. And I always remember we were sitting there in the room again. It was in the House of Lords this time, so it was mainly members of the House of Lords, some MPs in the room, and all the children from around the UK, aged from round about maybe 9, 10, up to 16, 17 in the room. And then, well, the Roblox guy was there, and I was quite keen to meet him because I spend a lot of money on Roblox with my kids. So I thought, well, we'll give him a question at the start, because I wanted to ask him about all my funds going out my bank account to Roblox. And he said, can you put up your hand if you understand Web3 and the metaverse, and if you've heard the term? Most of the kids, even the very young ones, had their hands up in the air in the room. It was very stark. You could see all their little hands up there. Hardly any MPs, and hardly any not really any members of the House of Lords, maybe one or two members of the House of Lords. And I thought at that point, this is such an important sector. We need to really continue this momentum and, accelerate it almost, because this is, for them, everything becoming digital is normal, it's natural. Their whole lives are digital, so of course finance is going to become digital. Why would it not? They don't expect to be dealing in, in pounds and pence and things, and my kids don't carry any actual currency with them anywhere. Everything is digital. So for emerging technology to create the jobs of the future, and for us to look in the Parliament seriously at skilling the generation for the jobs that they're going to be required to do, is very, very important. And that's going to take not just looking at finance, in a sense, in this sector, but looking at our whole education system and making sure it's fit for the future. Because a lot of it's been based upon, when I was growing up, my mum always said, be a lawyer or a doctor. She never said be an MP, of course, so you never listen to your parents. But what would you say now? Would you say be a doctor or a lawyer? We had the Royal College of Surgeons in to speak to us, telling us that most of the operations are done by robotics now. So everything is shifting. We need governments to be up to speed with it. And the children, again, and the population seem to be way ahead of the Parliament. So fast forward, we did a huge amount of work in the Parliament. We took the all-party parliamentary group, and it's just been reformed if you want to log on and keep up to date with its work, then I'd advise to do that. There's also a blockchain APPG in the Parliament and an AI APPG now. There's a fintech one. There's lots of things happening in the UK Parliament. What I want to see, and I'm so glad that this is happening in Scotland, is I want to see all of this work also being really, enhanced and accelerated as well through lots of groups happening and developing in the Scottish Parliament too. So thank you to Blockchain Scotland for this today, and for all of the work you've done over the last 2.5 years. It's very pivotal, it's very important, and it's going to take us forward as a UK as a whole. So we want to move forward. I came out of Parliament last year. I told my husband actually I was going to be more at home and doing a lot less, and I would be like, not travelling as much. I've never stopped since I left the Parliament. Been all over the world speaking about the work we're doing in the UK Parliament. I've been engaging still with industry. We developed the Digital Assets Global Forum, which I chair, which brings MPs from all different parliaments together so that they can understand what's happening in different jurisdictions. MPs are very competitive people. As soon as they hear something's happening somewhere else, they want it to happen where they are. So it's very good to get them all in a room so they can hear about the new developments, about what's working where, and also to develop interoperability and shared best practice, because that's going to be very important. This is a global industry, of course, so we have to think outside of our own boundaries. So we continue the events in the Parliament. We've got the Digital Assets Forum now. We've had meetings in the European Parliament, in the Spanish Senate this year. I've been at meetings, also again in the House of Lords. We've brought people there from all different parliaments. And there's going to be, linked with my forum, but not, my forum will be represented there. I'm going to be speaking. But there's also a Scotland forum that has been set up separately that's going to be happening at the beginning of September. And I'd encourage you all to find out a bit more about that. Again, bringing people together from all different parliaments across Europe to talk about Scotland and AI development in emerging technology and what more can be done. So we're going to be doing much, much more. The other thing I'm doing is I'm chairing the UK-US Crypto Alliance, because we all know what's been happening in the US has been transformational. You had so much inspiration when you attended Denver. I was very fortunate to attend the inauguration and the crypto ball at the beginning of the year. And the Genius Act has come through. So much is happening now with developments in the US, and we want the UK to be competitive, to take things forward in a very positive way. And I think some of the things I've learned are in terms of regulation. We just need what works regulation. We don't need to reinvent things if some things already work. We need light touch regulation. We maybe don't want to go down the MiCA route that the EU has gone down if it can give us a competitive edge, to be perhaps a bit more bespoke between what's happening in US and Europe. And so we're doing a huge amount of work to educate those parliamentarians. And I need you all on board because we need the industry. We need to have the industry behind these developments because there is now a willingness. When I started, it was a huge uphill struggle. You know, we had so many people saying this whole sector is a scam. Now we know, you know, with what's happening US, what's happening in the UAE, what's happening in Singapore, all around the world, there are massive developments. And we want the UK to have a leadership position. We want you to be engaged with the decision makers. And they can only learn if they hear from you as to what's happening in the front line, because there are still so many issues. Even just opening a bank account can be very difficult for companies in the UK. So we need to smooth the pathway, make sure that people can not just start up here, but scale up as well. And that we can help the government to achieve its growth economy. And I don't think that we can do that if we don't have this industry involved. So you have a huge responsibility alongside the parliamentarians. So that's why my final slide is to say get in touch. You can get me on LinkedIn or you can email me. I put my personal email there. You can get in touch with me. And I can link you into everything that's happening that I think is relevant, and you can be involved as much as you like. But please don't be frightened to get involved. Before I finish, how many people here have visited their MP and spoken to them about what they've done and their work? One person. How did you get on?
They didn't have a clue.
Yeah. What would you give them out of 10? 0. Huge amount of work has to be done, but only one person has gone and had that conversation. The more people we get to have the conversation, the more they learn, the more they know this is tied to jobs now and in the future, and tied, more importantly as well, to those children's future who came to the Parliament and spoke about their aspiration that we would take forward technology and make the UK a hub. And therefore, we must collaborate and work together. And that's why I'm here today, and I'm delighted this is happening in Edinburgh, because much of my time is spent in London, which I thoroughly enjoy, but congratulations, we're now in Edinburgh. And the other place I've been is Manchester, where I launched, alongside Coinbase, the Stand With Crypto campaign about 2 years ago when I was in Parliament. And so I know that there are thriving communities right across the UK, and including in Edinburgh. And when we combine, we're going to be very strong, and we have a good message for government. So please get in touch, and I look forward to the panel later today. Thank you.